Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao. This is Aldepollia, your anchor for today, and you're watching on ABCDE News Patrol. President Ferdinand Marcos announced that he had placed the entirety of the Philippines under martial law. It was said that martial law is declared in an emergency in a response to crisis or to control occupied territory. For more information, let's hear it from Miss Lovely Socias. Miss Socias?
Yes, Angel. President Ferdinand Marcos, the 10th President of the Republic of the Philippines on 1961, signed Proclamation Number 1081 on September 21, 1972, placing the Philippines under martial law. And on September 23, 1972, the President publicly declared by television and by radio to the entire country.
The proclamation of martial law is not a military takeover. I, as your duly elected President of the Republic, use this power, which may be implemented by the military authorities, but still is a power embodied in the Constitution to protect the Republic of the Philippines and our democracy.
Marcos cited a sizable communist force that had obtained weapons from China that sought to overthrow the government and violate the peaceful lives of ordinary Filipinos. These specific events that he cited to justify his decision were the communist insurgency. In response, Marcos declared that he would place the Philippines under a state of martial law, as according to the president's power described in the 1935 Philippine Constitution. Such powers included command over the armed forces of the Philippines to maintain law and order, as well as exclusive decision-making powers for whether or not a person would remain detained for any crime. The President declared martial law, claiming that it was the last defense against the rising disorder caused by increasingly violent students' demonstrations, the alleged threats of Communist Party of the Philippines or the CPP and the MNLF. He imposed martial law on the nation from 1972 to 1981 to suppress increasing civil strife and the threat of the communist takeover following a series of bombings in Manila. Despite half-hearted attempts to negotiate a ceasefire, the rebellion continued to claim thousands of military and civilian casualties. In 1973, he assumed dictatorship powers under a new constitution. Marcos used the military to suppress subversive elements but also arrested and jailed his mainstream political opponents. Furthermore, Marcos used the special powers he was given in martial law to lead reforms that would lead the Philippines to prosperity and peace. Martial law effectively lasts until he was exiled from the country on February 25, 1986. The early years of the Marcos reign indeed saw respectable economic growth. However, in the early 80s, the Philippines dramatically but expectedly plunged into worst post-war recession or economic downturn, and the reason behind all the downfall were the oligarchs who afflict the poor, farmers, and landowners, the political opposition who abused their power and had a motive to destroy the government. The president's style of leadership soon became dictatorial, and many accusations he received. In addition, Marcos is the longest president, having been in office for 20 years and 57 days. And that all covers my report. This is Lovely Socias reporting from Ayala Museum. Back to you, Angel.
Thank you, Miss Lovely Socias. And now, many still disagree with the declaration of the martial law. Why are they against? Let's find it out from Miss Annabelle Catudan. Annabelle?
Yes, Angel. When Ferdinand Marcos declared martial law in 1972, Marcos claimed that he had done so in response to the communist threat posed by the newly founded Communist Party of the Philippines, CPP, and the Sectarian Rebellion of the Mindanao Independence Movement or MIM. Opposition figures of the time, such as President Tanyada, Jose Jokno, and Jovito Salonga, accused Marcos of exaggerating these threats, using them as a convenient excuse to consolidate power and extend his tenure beyond the two presidential terms allowed by the 1935 Constitution. The Communist Party of the Philippines, New People's Army, CPP, and NPA seeks to overthrow the Philippine government in favor of a new state led by the working class and to expel U.S. influence from the Philippines. The Communist Party of the Philippines, CPP, formed in 1968 and its armed wing, the New People's Army NPA, was founded in 1969. Because the CPP and NPA are so closely intertwined, they are often jointly referred to as CPP-NPA. The CPP-NPA has historical focus on building support among the rural peasantry, although it has operated throughout the Philippines while it peaked in size and influenced the 1970s and 1980s. The CPP-NPA is still engaged in significant levels of violence and is the world's oldest existing communist insurgency. Angel?
The most shocking event that rocked the nation in year 1971 was the Plaza Miranda massacre. What was the truth behind the explosion in Plaza Miranda? Here are the pure facts of the incident and how this happened during the political campaign rally of the Liberal Party. And Miss April Padillo will give us a further information. Pass to you, April.
Yes, Miss Angel, the most shocking event that rocked the nation in 1971 was the Plaza Miranda massacre. Here are the pure facts of the incident. It was a proclamation rally of the Liberal Party for its senatorial and vanilla local candidates in the mid-year election that year. Present were all the Liberal Party local candidates and the party's entire senatorial ticket. The LB Secretary General and the star of the show, Ninoy Aquino, was absent that day. Ninoy's absence strikes what a spite on. As Senatorial Jovito Salonga says about Ninoy, he was our star because whenever the people spot him on stage, the people shout bomb. We want bomb. That August 21, 1971 bomb did explode in Plaza Miranda. Two powerful grenades rocked the rally. One missed the stage, blasting people on the spot, killing 8. Among them a 10-year-old girl vendor, and seriously injuring 120 people. The other grenade landed on stage, aiming all senatorial candidates, the most critically injured being Senator Jovito Salonga and Senator John Osmeña. By this time, the conflict between Marcos and Ninoy had intensified so that their respective position on the incident became the focus of the people's attention. Who had the more credible story and who told the story in the more convincing way? On the other occasion before the Plaza Miranda bombing, Ninoy had entrailed as much as thrilled strong of listeners with the theatrics on the assassination of Imelda. Her jewelry, her shoes, and the handbags and parasols had inflamed audience with statistics on corruption in the Marcos conduct of government, and had particularly appealed the nation with his expose of the Chavida massacre, which killed all but one of the 60 Muslim youth allegedly recruited and trained for an invasion of Sabah to regain the territory for the Philippines. These exposes provided the backdrop for Ninoy's revelation that the Plaza Miranda bombing was a step forward to the full-blown implementation of a plan secretarius. The plan Ninoy alleged as the scenario for the institution of military rule in the country. Subsequent event appeared to the bear Ninoy out in the propaganda. 2 days after the Plaza Miranda carnage, Marcos suspended the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus and ended by virtue of it proceeded immediately to arrest a number of activists without the customary warrants. And Ninoy had a heyday condemning the writ suspension as a prelude to martial law. On the other hand, Marcos accused the Communist Party of the Philippines as the perpetrator of the massacre. According to Marcos, the CPP carried out the bombing in order to advance the design of toppling the government and taking over political control of the country. Since Marcos had on various occasions accused Ninoy of calling the communist, if not being a communist himself, he too had alleged to stand on his battle with Ninoy for credibility in the eyes of the nation by equating Ninoy with the communists and then accused the communists of being the perpetrators of the Plaza Miranda bombing. Marcos cleverly expressed upon the nation that it was, in the end, Ninoy who masterminds the gruesome, distorted act. To the point of logic, Marcos' land was quite sound. If it had not been Ninoy who planned it all, why was he safely away when the bombing took place? Normally, a Secretary General of the party conducting the rally as the premier start of LP public meetings, Ninoy was expected to be the Plaza Miranda occasion even much earlier than the others. There was a wedding celebration he was attending at the precise time of bombing. Still, he could have easily prioritized the Plaza Miranda LP rally, it being expected for him the most urgent concern that event. In point of truth, Marcos equating Ninoy with the communists did have a substantial measure of it, but not after nearly 2 decades with proof surface that such Marcos equation of Ninoy with the communists were substantially valid. So I interviewed someone who knew about Plaza Miranda bombing. This person was born in 1966.
Ako, natao ko year 1965 at the time na ako sa Manila. Pero pati sa Plaza Miranda bombing, nagkaroon man kasi ng rally na siya katong Liberal Party, which is giplano sa mga oligarko, sa mga Communist Party of the Philippines. So before na-create ang Community Party of the Philippines, giplastar sa na nila para magkaroon ng intimidation sa mga tao against Marcos regime. So dito na-create, gisabotahin nila katong rally sa plaza, which is pag-declare sa Liberal Party. So dito nagkaroon ng pagboto sa plaza, daghan ang nangamatay. And then at that time na natabo na si Bendigo Aquino, wala diha si Bendigo Aquino. Pagputo sa Plaza Miranda bombing, ang gipasangin lang sa tanan-tanan nato si Ferdinand Marcos, which is wala yun na involved si Ferdinand Marcos sa Plaza Miranda bombing. So diyan nag-create ang Plaza Miranda bombing, diyan na nagkaroon ang sila Bernabe Boscaino, daghan na nag-create sa Commander Dante, nabuo na siya. Kasi murang naging successful na sila sa plano nila. Ang plano nila ito pumiro na ibagsak ang Marcos regime. Kaya nangyari, nagiplano nila na maayo. Dili lang kaysa kabeses, 3 kabeses giplano nila. Gibuo nila, gikuha nila ang mga tao ng mga essential para sa ilang mga plano. Yun ito nabuo itong katawin na Commander Dante. Kanang Commander Dante, mono si Diokno, si Aquino, si Nepomuceno, Tanyada o Espina. Ang naghawak ka ng isa katao ng muna si Bernabe Boscaino. Yan ang tinatawag nila Commander Dante. Muna siya. So isa na sila sa mga faktor kung ano nabuo ang Plaza Miranda bombing. So dito nag-start, then ang media, hawak nila tanan, ang mainstream media, bayaran. Kontrolado nila ang mainstream media. ABS-CBN number 1 kay kalaban man yun na siya. So number 1 ng ABS-CBN, mo to siya ang ginungdan nga ang ginashow sa ABS-CBN pabor para sila ang sa mga Marcos dili. Hantod na abot ang panahon sa ingani na nga sitwasyon o dili pa karon nabawan ang tinuod nga istorya. Sa pag-declare na siya sa gitawag na to nga Freedom of Information Bill nga gipirma ni Ferdinand Rodrigo Roa Duterte. So diya nang kasaunang panahon dili ka pwede mangutana kung unsa ang Plaza Miranda bombing. Dako kayo na siya nga isyu para sa gobyerno. So karon may chance mo para sa imo nangutana mo parte sa kuha, wala kay ko background, pinala ko knowledge gamay. O dili lang po na ako kayo tason basi kung napo ko'y magkamali ko, no? Pero mao na akong nabawan parte sa Plaza Miranda bombing. Thank you, that's all.
The purpose of imposing martial law is to restore order or to preserve the current government of a country. When martial law is in effect, it displaces the civilian government with military rule. But how are the Filipinos affected by the said martial law? Does it help or does it completely destroy the condition of our country? For more information, let's hear from Mylene Bendigo. Mylene?
Yes, Angel, under the martial law, the regime was able to reduce violent urban crime, collect unregistered firearms, and suppress communist insurgency in some areas. At the same same time, a series of important new concessions were given to foreign investors, including a prohibition on strikes by organized labor and a land reform program was launched. I have interviewed one person who has experienced martial law in their time. Sir, unsa epekto sa martial law nga gipatupad ni Marcos sa inyong panahon kaniadto?
Dakong ito ang nahitabo na itong 1985 na itong 1986 tungkol kay dako kayong pag-abuso sa mga militar kanina ito sa panahon ni Marcos. Pero mayo man ang may mga nahimo ni Marcos na kaayuhan. Pero ang mga military lamang ang nag-abuso kaya murag hatagan siguro nag-abuso sila bisan dili pa ko to may pagmando ni Marcos tingali pan sila nag-abuso so itong hapit mudag ang MPE.
According to Sir George Angel, martial law did not have a good effect on them because of the soldiers who already abusing. So most of the people rebelled. Angel?
Pizza yun ah! Bacon yun! Pizza! Bacon! Mali kayo, spaghetti yun!
Introducing new Maggie Instant Spaghetti Curls, a first of its kind. Spaghetti curly with fun. Made delicious by real ingredients. The only one with pizza and smoky bacon sauce.
Yay! Spaghetti time!
New Maggie Instant Spaghetti Curls, your kids' favorite. Now with a delicious twist.
Total of 44 staff were brutally killed by Moro Islamic Liberation Front rebels in Maguindanao province. A number of rebels and civilians also died during the day-long firefight. And Ms. Shane Doloris will share us further information about the incident. Shane?
This news is dedicated to present historical event that leaves a scar in our hearts but shows how strong we are as a Filipino and how braver our fallen SAF 44 is. The Mama Sapano clash was a shootout that took place during a police operation by the Special Action Force of the Philippine National Police on January 25, 2015 into Canalipaw, Mama Sapano, Maguindanao. 21 gunshots echo inside the Special Action Force compound Monday morning as a salute to the 44 police who died 7 years ago in Mama Sapano, Maguindanao. A mission to neutralize known terrorists in the area. Aside from the 44 staff members, 23 civilians and rebels died in that whole-day firefight. President Duterte confirmed medals of valor to the fallen troopers.
Some 44 may have fallen, but are never forgotten for the martyrdom they have willingly shed for this country and for our people.
The cause of death of Staff 44 is that the 44 staff commandos died in the line of duty in a butthead police operation called Upland Exodus against two high-value targets, Malaysian terrorist Zulkifli bin Her alias Marwan and terrorist Abdul Baset Usman.
Sobra akong nataranta at minervyos kasi habang magkausap kami, naririnig ko ang putukan. My son, who is 6 years old now, what he knows about his tatay is through Nikki's picture and the stories of his tatay's bravery.
And lastly, the cause of Mama Sapano clash is the operation codenamed Upland Exodus was intended to capture or kill wanted Malaysian terrorists and bomb maker Marwan and other Malaysian terrorists or high-ranking members of the Moro Islamic Liberation Front or MILF. Back to you, Angel.
Martial law victims in the Philippines challenge Marcos presidential bid protester holds a photo bearing the photos of the late dictator's son, Ferdinand Marcos Jr. and Davao City Mayor Sara Duterte during a protest outside the Commission on Human Rights in Quezon City. They hold on their presumption that they will not allow the Marcoses to become a president in our country. For more information, pass to you, Ms. Maristel Redoble.
Yes, Angel! Human rights advocates and people victimized by martial law under their late dictator Ferdinand Marcos asked the Philippines Election Commission to disqualify his son from the 2022 presidential race because of a past conviction for a tax violation. Ferdinand Marcos Jr. lied on his certificate of candidacy in saying he never been convicted of any crime, an omission that would automatically disqualify anyone from seeking public office, alleged the campaign against the return of the Marcoses and martial law o CAMRA, a group petitioning the Commission of Election to remove his name. The petitioner seeks succor from the Honorable Commission to consider the instant petition or to at least undertake the mandatory administrative obligation to cancel the candidacy of the respondent, convicted candidate Marcos Jr., as he is inevitably suffering from disqualification because he is convicted criminal. In 1995, a trial court found Marcos Jr. guilty of 4 counts of tax evasion for failing to file income tax returns from 1982 to 1985. An appeals court upheld the conviction 2 years later. Marcos Jr., who comes from one of the most famous political dynasties in Asia, is vying to replace Rodrigo Duterte, whose single 6-year term ends in 2022 as stipulated by the Philippine Constitution, and whose 2016 presidential campaign was endorsed and bankrolled by the Marcos family. The president's daughter, Sara Duterte Capio, who is running for vice president, confirmed that she had formed an alliance with Bongbong to campaign for office under his ticket. Marcos Jr. dismissed the new petition as mere propaganda, expressing confidence that the commission would throw out the case. This was the second petition to block Marcos Jr.'s bid for the presidency. The first, filed by another group of Filipinos opposed to the Marcoses, has not gained widespread attention. The commission did not immediately respond to queries about when it would take up the latest petition. The outcome of both petitions could be invalidated to the Supreme Court. Marcos Jr. has been elected to public office before, serving as a governor, congressman, and senator. He also ran for the vice presidency in 2016, which he lost during his past candidacies. There were no petitions seeking to block his electoral run. This is Maristel Redoble reporting. Back to you, Angel.
Sub-Regional Committee have surrendered to the government on January 13, 2022, which caused the total dismantling of the unit. General Greg Almiral, commander of the Eastern Mindanao Command, said the dismantling of SRC-5 is also leading to the end of Southern Mindanao Regional Command. For more information, pass to you, Mr. Rolly Lindaan.
Thanks, Miss Angela. The 5 sub-regional committees have become a huge problem for our government, especially for our armies and the people. Due to a series of military operations in their areas of control, They are slowly folding against the government operating troop. The Sub-Regional Committee 5 of the NPA, which operates in some parts of the province of Bukidnon, Cotabato, Davao del Norte, and Davao City, has been completely dissolved because their cadres Kamande, Kahose, Kamaki, Kaigor, Kamakor, and their other colleagues have recently surrendered. It was only accomplished because of the martial law implemented by President Rodrigo Roa Duterte and participation of the government and the military by assisting the people in distributing food, repairing the roads. Due to the good impact it has done, some NPA leaders and members have surrendered. They admitted their mistakes and changed their lives. I am Rolly Love Lindaan, reporting ABCDE Noipi News.